The quality of your life will be greatly determined by the quality of questions you ask yourself. So, we're going to talk a little bit about this today, but that's the main thing I want you to get out of this video, and I hope it really helps you. Anyway, my name is Maurice Kempner. I'm an attorney, real estate broker, business consultant, and coach, and welcome to True Legacy Wealth Media. So, let's talk about this. Let's say you want to know, well, what's a really good retirement plan that I could have where I can maybe save some taxes now and take the money out later and have enough to get by until I die? Well, if you ask yourself that question, you're going to end up with things like an IRA, an annuity, 401ks, deferred compensation plans, and things like that, right? Now, you tend to get answers to the questions you ask. It's just the way the universe works, right? Because it's what you're thinking about. What you think about, you bring about. That's just a saying that's been around forever, right? I don't know who said it originally, but it's true. Now, what if you asked instead of that question, what if you said, well, how can I have a stream of income that comes into me, whether I've retired or not, that I can pass on to the next generation? Now, if you ask that question, do you think that IRA or 401k is an answer to that question? No. And I think it's a much better quality question, right? So if you ask yourself, well, let's see, how do I get promoted? You're probably going to find ways to get promoted. If you ask yourself questions like, how do I become financially independent? Then all things to do with financial independence are going to come to you. And I think it's a good question to ask because really, if you live long enough, you're going to have to become financially independent because there's going to come a time when you're not going to be able to work. So you might as well just start on it right now, right? Ask questions about that. If you're having a dispute with your spouse, you can ask questions like, well, I'll show her. How do I get even? How do I prove this? How do I prove that? Or you could ask questions like, how do I get a better relationship with my spouse? Is it possible for me to have a better relationship with this spouse? Or maybe I shouldn't be with this spouse. I mean, these are more significant quality questions, right? You ask questions like, how do I destroy my enemies and my adversaries? How do I put down or hurt people who disagree with me or shame them? Well, you get answers to those kind of questions, and it creates resistance in other people and resentment. But if you ask questions like, how can I help support the things I believe in more? How can I show that the things I believe in are a good idea? How can I make sure the things I believe in are accurate and true or make sense even to other people? Or why don't they make sense to other people? I mean, these are good quality questions to ask yourself. And it just goes on like this day after day. So really think big. Let's say we ask ourselves, well, how do we build more prisons to put more criminals in prison, right? Well, you get answers to that question. Pretty soon you got prisons everywhere. Now, maybe it'll make the streets safer. Maybe there'll be less crime and all that. And I really believe in public safety. I mean, I think public safety comes first, right? Whatever you're going to do, public safety has to come first because people need to be safe, right? And that's just coming from me. I guess it's my old attitude as a former deputy sheriff and police officer. But what if we ask a question like this? What if we found a way that we don't ever have to put anybody in jail and nobody commits any crimes? I mean, what's wrong with asking a question like that? That doesn't necessarily mean that we're ever going to get rid of jails and prisons or we're never going to have to put anybody in a jail or prison. And I don't think we should ask a question like that and then go off and do crazy things that where we don't anybody in jail and public safety goes out the window and people just start committing crimes all over the place. I'm not talking about that, but why don't we try to find ways to get people to comply? Why don't we try to find the root of crime and give incentives for people not to commit crimes? But why don't we at least think about that? And I think there's always going to be people that are just going to try to hurt other people or take advantage no matter what you do. But I think it's a better question to ask. Think about ways we can do this kind of stuff. There's nothing wrong with asking that question, right? I'll give you kind of a funny example of quality. This is a true story. When I was with the state police in Utah, we were doing some training one day, and it was this barricaded suspect in there. He's not going to go back to prison. He's heavily armed, all this stuff. And everybody was making their plan, and the instructor's just watching this, and then they're like, okay, we're going to go in now. Yeah, let's go in. And so we're going to go in and get him, right? And the instructor just says, now just take a minute. Everybody close your eyes and start envisioning this. Now, all the guys there that day were all males. So he says, imagine your wife now. Just picture this in your mind. She's driving down the road with her new boyfriend in her new Corvette that she paid for with your life insurance money because you got killed going in to get this barricaded suspect. And this guy is driving her home, and they're going to get married eventually. He's sleeping with her in your former bed, and he's raising your kids. Okay? Now, here comes the quality question. Who wants to go in first? Who wants to be the first person to execute this plan you just came up with? And you know what? Everybody was like, yeah, no, we need to rethink this, right? We need to rethink this and come up with a better plan, right? So always ask questions of your questions. And I think another thing to do is, like, once you ask yourself some quality questions and you come up with some ideas that you think are going to work, then you ask yourself a question like, what are all the things that I can think of that are wrong with this plan that I came up with? How would I defeat this plan? How will this plan not work? I mean, just spend a little time asking some questions. Don't drive yourself crazy with it, but really, really think about the questions you're going to ask yourself in life, because it really will make a huge difference in where you end up. It just does, because you end up getting answers to the questions you ask yourself. If you don't ask yourself the question, the answer just doesn't pop up. You got to think about it first. So think about what you ask. I hope this helps, and we appreciate you watching. And if you like it, please like and subscribe. That really helps us, and we appreciate it. Thanks so much.